just like all haunted houses, this one contained a ghost. And the grumpiest of all ghosts. This ghost loved its home and hated anybody that would try to enter. There once was a family who was sitting at the table eating some dinner. The ghost used this time to strike. The lights began to flicker on and off. The table and the food and the cutlery began to float in the air and crash into one another. And after 3, the ghost gave a spooky boo. 1, 2, 3. Boo! The family screamed at the top of their lungs. Ah! Dropped all of their stuff, packed up their things, and left the house immediately. The ghost gave a mischievous laugh. There once was another family who was sitting in the living room playing some board games. The ghost used this opportunity to strike. The lights began to flicker on and off. The pieces of the board game began to float in the air and crash into one another. And after 3, the ghost gave a spooky boo. 1, 2, 3. Boo! The family screamed at the top of their lungs. Ah! Dropped all of their stuff, packed their bags, and left the house immediately. The ghost gave a mischievous laugh. Finally, the ghost could be left alone. He loved to read his books in the library, which he'd collected these books over hundreds of years and read them hundreds of times. The ghost settled down with a book, reading his favourite story, when he heard a sound outside. The ghost looked out of the window and saw another family packing up and coming into the house. No problem, thought the ghost. I'll get them just like I did the others. The ghost decided to start with the children. If you scare the children, they'll complain to the parents and they'll definitely all leave the house, the ghost thought. So, the ghost entered the children's room, and as they were playing some sort of video game, the lights in the house began to flicker. The things in the children's room began to float in midair and crash into one another. And after 3, the ghost gave a spooky boo. 1, 2, 3. Boo! But this time, it didn't work. The children were still focused on their video games. The ghost decided to give another spooky boo. 1, 2, 3. Oh, boo! But the children, still, eyes glued to the video game. They looked at the ghost and said, "Go away, ghost! You're not that scary. We're trying to complete our game. Leave us alone!" The ghost was taken aback. This had never happened before. He needed to change his plan. So he approached the grandparents instead. Grandparents are easily scared. If I scare them, they'll run off, tell the parents, and they'll have to leave the house. So the ghost entered the living room. And there, the grandparents were watching some sort of old quiz show. The ghost snuck up on them. The lights began to flicker. Things in the living room began to float in midair and crash into one another. And the ghost gave a spookier boo after 3. 1, 2, 3. Boo! But it didn't work. You see, the grandparents were asleep. This time, the ghost decided to give an even bigger boo after 3. 1, 2, 3. Boo! But the grandparents were still fast asleep. That's it, thought the ghost. I'll go to the parents. If I scare them, they'll convince the children and the grandparents to definitely leave the house immediately. So, the ghost found the parents that were in the kitchen typing away on their laptops. The lights in the room began to flicker. Things in the kitchen began to move and float in midair and crash into one another. And the ghost gave his spookiest boo after 3. 1, 2, 3. Boo! But the parents continued typing away on their laptops. The ghost decided to give an even spookier boo after 3. 1, 2, 3, and boo! The parents looked up at the ghost and said, "Go away, ghost! We have work to do." The ghost didn't know what to do. He felt really upset. These people wouldn't listen to him at all. He couldn't scare them, he couldn't get them out of his house. Oh, the ghost went back to his library. He couldn't focus on his books because all he could hear the sound of was the children playing their video games. The grandparents snoring loudly. And the parents typing away on their laptops. Oh, thought the ghost, I guess this is how I will spend the rest of eternity. Suddenly, the ghost heard a scream. The ghost went out of the library and looked around. The house had become dark. All the lights were turned off. The children were crying, "My video game! I can't play!" The grandparents were woken up. "Oh, our quiz show! Oh, we can't watch TV!" The parents were in tears. "We can't work on our laptops! What's going on? Oh dear!" The power in the house had been cut. The family were cold. And they all found the library room, which was the warmest room in the house. They huddled up together and sat in silence. Nobody spoke. It was just the sound of the clock. Tick, tock, tick, tock, tick, tock, tick, tock. The children gave a big yawn. Missing their video games. The grandparents gave a big yawn. Missing their quiz show. The parents gave a bigger yawn. Missing their laptops. "I'm bored," they all said. One of the children picked up a book. "Oh, what's this?" They opened the book and saw that it was filled with many different beautiful illustrations. The ghost appeared. "Give me back my book!" The children handed it to the ghost and saw that they were bored once again. Fine. The ghost sat down, opened the book, and began to tell the story to the family. They were transfixed by the incredible illustrations, the beautiful story, and after the ghost had finished, they wanted more. "Please, another book, another book!" So the ghost spent the whole evening reading stories to the family. They all laughed, they all joked, and eventually the children began to pick up some of the books and read stories. So did the grandparents, and so did the parents. The power eventually came back on. And they were sad for it, because they really enjoyed this time that they spent together. So, they made a deal with the ghost. Once a week, they would all gather together in the library, turn off all of the power, and read each other some spooky stories. The